Hello there, future TOEFL achievers. I am your speaking coach, and today we are diving into a very dynamic task called the Take an Interview question. This specific part of the exam tests your ability to think on your feet because there is absolutely no preparation time. The moment the interviewer finishes speaking, it is your turn to shine. Our goal today is to learn how to capture the interviewer's main point, organize a logical response in a split second, and use natural conversational English to support your ideas with clear reasons and examples. We want to avoid sounding like we are reading a textbook. Instead, we want to sound like a confident professional participating in a real discussion. Let's get started and master this together. If you find these tips helpful, please subscribe to my TOEFL and join our community to keep your exam preparation on the right track. You have agreed to participate in a market research survey about modern work trends. The interviewer will now ask you some questions. This title sets the stage for our entire conversation. It tells us that we are participating in a market research survey. This means you should speak as if you are a real person sharing your honest thoughts on a topic. The focus is on modern work trends, so expect questions about how people work today, like the gig economy or remote offices. Knowing this context helps you prepare your vocabulary for business and lifestyle topics before the first question even begins. Let's jump straight into the first question of this interview to see how we should start. Interviewer, thank you for your time. First, do you think having a flexible work schedule is important? Why? In this first question, the interviewer is looking for your opinion on a flexible work schedule. The most important word here is important, followed by the word why. This tells you that you cannot just say yes or no. You must provide a logical justification. This is a personal opinion question, so your goal is to be decisive. Don't waste time weighing both sides in your head. Pick a side immediately and think of one or two big reasons like health or family. A quick tip for this task: use transition words like because or for example to help the listener follow your logic without you having to pause too much. Yes, I believe having a flexible work schedule is extremely important in today's world. This is a perfect opening sentence because it answers the question directly without any hesitation. The speaker uses the phrase, I believe, to show a clear personal stance. By adding extremely important, they show confidence in their opinion. This is a great way to start because it tells the examiner exactly what the rest of the response will be about. Now that the main point is clear, the listener is ready for the reasons. Flexibility allows people to balance their professional responsibilities with personal commitments, such as family, education, or health. Now we move into the first reason. This sentence explains the benefit of flexibility. The key word here is balance. The speaker connects work to personal commitments, which makes the answer feel relatable and well-rounded. It provides a solid why by listing specific areas like family and health. This shows the examiner you have the vocabulary to discuss complex life situations. When employees can adjust their working hours, they often feel less stressed and more in control of their time. This sentence expands on the previous point by focusing on the emotional and psychological benefits. Notice the phrase less stressed and in control. These are powerful descriptors in a speaking task because they show cause and effect. It explains that flexibility leads to better mental well-being, which is a very strong supporting argument. This sense of autonomy can increase motivation and productivity. Here, the speaker uses a high-level vocabulary word, autonomy. This refers to the freedom to make your own choices. By linking this to motivation and productivity, the speaker shows that flexibility isn't just good for the worker, it's also good for the work itself. This adds a professional layer to the answer. For example, someone who works better in the evening might produce higher quality results outside the traditional 9 to 5 schedule. Now we see a specific example. Examples are the gold of the TOEFL speaking section. By mentioning the evening versus the 9 to 5 schedule, the speaker makes the abstract idea of flexibility very concrete and easy to understand. It proves the point they just made about productivity. Of course, structure is still necessary, but flexibility gives individuals the opportunity to design a routine that matches their energy and lifestyle. This sentence is clever because it acknowledges the other side, with structure is still necessary, but it quickly brings the focus back to the main argument. This shows critical thinking. The phrase, design a routine, emphasizes that the worker is the creator of their own success. Overall, a flexible schedule supports both well-being and performance. This is a classic concluding sentence. Using overall signals to the interviewer that you are finishing your thought. It summarizes the two main points, well-being and performance. Ending strongly like this makes your answer feel complete and polished. Moving along, let's see what the interviewer has to ask next in this work trends survey. Interviewer, would you prefer a stable, traditional job or the flexibility of freelance work? And what are your reasons for this choice? The second question asks you to make a choice between two options. You must choose between a stable, traditional job or freelance work. The keyword prefer means this is all about your personal values. Just like before, the interviewer wants your reasons. In your mind, quickly think, do I value security or do I value freedom? There is no wrong answer, but you must be able to explain why. A good strategy is to briefly mention a downside of the option you didn't choose to make your choice look even better. Personally, I would prefer a stable, traditional job over freelance work. This sentence immediately establishes the speaker's preference. By starting with personally, it makes the response feel like a natural part of a survey. It is clear, direct, and sets a firm foundation for the reasons that follow. While freelancing offers freedom and independence, it also involves financial uncertainty and inconsistent income. This is a great use of contrast. The speaker starts with a positive aspect of the other side, freedom, but then highlights the negative, financial uncertainty. Using while at the beginning of the sentence creates a sophisticated, complex sentence-sentence structure, which the TOEFL scorers love to hear. A traditional position usually provides steady pay, long-term career development, and workplace benefits. This sentence lists the specific advantages of a traditional job. The speaker uses steady pay and benefits to explain why they prefer this path. Listing three items like this makes the argument feel very substantial and well thought out. I value stability because it allows me to plan for the future with greater confidence. This explains the why behind the choice. The core value here is stability. The speaker connects this value to the ability to plan for the future. It moves the conversation from just jobs to life goals, which shows a higher level of expressive ability. For instance, having a predictable salary makes it easier to budget and invest in long-term goals. Again, we see a concrete example starting with for instance. By talking about a predictable salary and budgeting, the speaker provides a real-world application of their preference. It makes the abstract concept of stability very practical. That said, I understand why some people are attracted to freelance opportunities, especially those who prioritize autonomy. Using the transition, that said, allows the speaker to show empathy for the other perspective. It acknowledges that autonomy is a valid priority for others. This balanced approach actually makes the speaker's own preference sound more reasoned and less biased. However, for me, security and structured growth are more important than flexibility alone. The speaker concludes by reinforcing their main point. The words security and structured growth summarize exactly what they find most valuable. It's a very clear wrap-up that leaves no doubt in the interviewer's mind about the speaker's position. Great job so far. Now let's tackle the third question, which asks for some problem-solving ideas. Interviewer: gig economy workers often lack benefits like health insurance. What are two suggestions for solving this problem for freelance workers? This question is a bit different because it asks for two suggestions to solve a specific problem. The problem is that gig workers lack benefits. This requires a more analytical response. You need to provide two distinct ideas. Think about who can help, the government or the companies themselves. When answering, make sure you use signal words like first or another approach, so the interviewer knows when you are moving from your first suggestion to your second one. This organization is key to getting a high score in the delivery category. One possible solution to the lack of benefits for gig workers is government-supported insurance programs designed specifically for freelancers. This is a strong start that identifies the first suggestion immediately. The speaker uses one possible solution to introduce the idea of government-supported programs. It shows that the speaker understood the problem and is ready with a specific, policy-oriented answer. These programs could allow independent workers to contribute to a national health or retirement system at affordable rates. This sentence adds detail to the first suggestion. It explains how the suggestion would work in practice. The focus is on contribute and affordable rates. By adding these details, the suggestion becomes more realistic and less like a vague guess. Another approach would be to require digital platforms to provide partial benefits based on the number of hours worked. The transition. Another approach is perfect here because it tells the listener that the second suggestion is coming. This one focuses on digital platforms. It proposes a system of partial benefits, which is a very modern and relevant idea for the gig economy. For example, if a driver or delivery worker completes a certain number of tasks each month, the company could contribute to their health coverage fund. The speaker uses a specific example of a driver or delivery worker to illustrate the second suggestion. This makes the idea easy to visualize. It shows that the speaker can apply their suggestions to real-world jobs like Uber or DoorDash. This shared responsibility would reduce vulnerability without eliminating flexibility. This sentence explains the philosophy behind the suggestion. It uses the phrase shared responsibility. It argues that we can reduce vulnerability while keeping the work flexible. This shows a very sophisticated level of thinking about the balance between security and freedom. Creating portable benefits that follow workers across different platforms could also increase long-term security. The speaker adds one more technical detail: portable benefits. This is a very specific term used in labor discussions. Mentioning that benefits should follow workers shows that the speaker has a deep understanding of the challenges freelancers face. Together, these measures could make freelance work more sustainable. This final sentence summarizes both suggestions using the word together. The goal is to make the work sustainable. It is a professional and polished way to finish the response, showing that all parts of the answer were connected toward one goal. Finally, let's look at the fourth and last question of the interview, focusing on business effects. Interviewer: as the gig economy continues to grow, what is one positive and one negative effect it could have on traditional businesses? The last question asks for a balanced view. You need to identify one positive and one negative effect on traditional businesses. This is not about the workers this time, but about the companies. Pay close attention to that. A good approach is to use clear contrast words like however or on the other hand to separate the 2 points. Think of efficiency for the positive and maybe loyalty or culture for the negative. Be careful not to spend too much time on the positive and then run out of time for the negative. Balance is the goal here. As the gig economy expands, one positive effect on traditional businesses could be increased efficiency. This is a very clear topic sentence. It identifies the positive effect as increased efficiency. It's direct and tells the listener exactly what the first half of the response will cover. Using the word expands shows a good command of synonyms for growth.